You're 26 years old, sitting in a cubicle at an insurance company in El Paso, Texas, filling out claims for people who crashed their Hondas into mailboxes. You make $42,000 a year. Your dad was a cop. Your grandfather was a cop. You were supposed to be a cop, but you got a business degree instead because your mom begged you to be the first one in the family who doesn't get shot at for a living. One afternoon, you see a DEA recruitment ad taped to the wall of a gas station bathroom. You rip it off, stuff it in your pocket, and apply that night. 3 months later, you're a special agent trainee at the DEA Academy in Quantico, Virginia. Your mother stops answering your calls for 2 weeks. Training is 18 weeks at the DEA Academy in Quantico. They teach you surveillance, firearms, defensive tactics, legal procedures, and undercover methodology. That last one is where things get interesting. They sit you in a room, and a retired agent who spent 9 years inside the Cali Cartel tells you the single most important rule of undercover work. You are not pretending to be someone else. You are becoming someone else. The moment you think of yourself as a cop playing dress-up, you're dead. A drug trafficker can smell a lie the way a dog smells fear. It lives in your posture, your eye contact, the half-second pause before you answer a question you weren't expecting. That half-second pause is the difference between going home and being found in a ditch outside Culiacan with your hands cut off. He says that last part without blinking. You believe him. You graduate near the top of your class. They assign you to the El Paso Field Division. Congratulations. You're now a federal agent making $63,000 a year to fight a war that everyone privately admits is unwinnable. But nobody says that part out loud. Your first 2 years are grunt work. You buy dime bags from corner dealers wearing a wire the size of a playing card taped to your chest. You sit in parked cars for 12 hours watching stash houses. You write reports that nobody reads. You arrest guys who get replaced by next Tuesday. The cartels move hundreds of tons of cocaine a year. You're catching the crumbs that fall off the table. But you're good at talking to people. Really good. You grew up in a Mexican-American household. Spanish was your first language. You can switch between border slang and boardroom English without blinking. Your supervisors notice. One day, your section chief pulls you into a windowless office and asks if you'd be interested in a long-term undercover assignment. He says the word long-term like it weighs 100 pounds. You ask how long? He says 12 to 18 months. Maybe more. You ask where? He says Mexico. You say yes before your brain catches up to your mouth. The legend they build for you is a masterpiece. Your name is now Miguel Reyes. You're a money broker out of Houston. You've done small deals with mid-level guys on the Texas border, and you're looking to move up. They create a company, bank accounts, a credit history, a fake arrest record that shows you beat a laundering charge in 2019 on a technicality. That last detail is genius. It tells the cartel 2 things. 1, you've handled dirty money before. 2, you know how to beat a case. That makes you useful and trustworthy in exactly the right proportions. They give you a burner phone, a leased Mercedes, and a Rolex that costs more than your real car. Your handler's name is Dave. Dave will be your only lifeline. He gives you a number to call if everything goes sideways. He also gives you a reality check. If you get burned, we'll try to get you out. But you need to understand, inside Mexico, we have limited ability to extract you. That's government speak for, you might die, and we'll send a letter to your family. You cross into Juarez on a Tuesday morning. The first thing you notice is the smell. Diesel, dust, grilled corn, and something sweet rotting underneath all of it. The second thing is the police. They're everywhere, and they're watching you. Not because they suspect you, because they work for the cartel, and they report every unfamiliar face that crosses the bridge driving something expensive. You check into a mid-range hotel. Nothing too flashy. A real money broker wouldn't stay at the Ritz. He'd stay somewhere forgettable, somewhere with a back exit and a parking garage with no cameras. You wait. Your contact is a mid-level operator named Julio, who moves cash for the Juarez Plaza. The DEA already has Julio on a wire from a separate investigation. Julio doesn't know this. What Julio does know is that his boss needs a new money guy because the last one got greedy, skimmed $80,000 off a shipment, and is now buried somewhere in the Chihuahuan desert. Nobody looked for him. Nobody filed a report. He just stopped existing. Congratulations. The position is open. Julio meets you at a restaurant. He orders for both of you without asking. That's a power move. You let him. He asks about Houston. You talk about the port of entry at Laredo, the trucking companies you've worked with, the banks in the Caymans that ask the fewest questions. Everything you say is technically true, because the DEA set up every piece of it. Julio nods. He says he'll make some calls. 3 days later, you get a text. Just an address. You drive to a ranch outside the city. Armed men wave you through a gate. In a back room with no windows, a man in a silk shirt and a gold crucifix the size of your fist sits behind a desk. He doesn't introduce himself. He asks you one question. How would you move $5 million from Juarez to Miami without touching a bank? You explain a system using shell companies in Panama, trade-based laundering through electronics exports, and peso brokers who convert dollars to pesos through legitimate Mexican businesses. The man stares at you for what feels like a year. Then he smiles. Welcome to the family, Miguel. For the first 3 months, you do exactly what they ask. You move money. You structure transactions to stay under reporting thresholds. You fly to Panama City and open accounts with bankers who know exactly what the money is and don't care. Every night, back at your hotel, you write coded notes and leave them in a dead drop for Dave. You never call unless it's an emergency. The cartel sweeps for bugs constantly. They check phones, hotel rooms, cars. One wrong move and Miguel Reyes stops existing. The money is insane. You move 11 million the first month, 23 million the second. By month 3, you've laundered over $50 million. The cartel pays you a commission. You're making more in a week than you made in a year at the insurance company. You deposit every peso into a DEA-controlled account, but for 12 hours a day, you live like a king. Penthouse suites, 5-star restaurants, women who appear from nowhere and disappear the same way. The line between Miguel and you starts to blur. That's the part they warned you about at Quantico. The paranoia is constant. The cartel tests loyalty the way a doctor checks reflexes, casually and without warning. One night, Julio introduces you to a man who claims to be a freight forwarder from Monterrey. The man asks detailed questions about your Houston operation. Too detailed. You notice his shoes. They're wrong. A freight forwarder from Monterrey doesn't wear $200 American sneakers. You pivot. You ask him questions back. Where did he clear customs last? What broker does he use? He hesitates. Half a second. You see it. You excuse yourself and call Julio privately. That guy is either a cop or he works for the competition. Either way, he's not who he says he is. The next day, the freight forwarder disappears. Julio looks at you differently after that. Not with suspicion, with respect. You just passed a test you didn't know you were taking. Month 6. You're in deep. You've met the plaza boss. You eat dinner at his house. His kids call you Tio. His wife serves you tamales. He's a family man who orders executions the way you order takeout. Casually, between bites. One evening, he mentions a DEA agent who was nosing around in the 80s. A guy named Camarena. He says the name with a smile, the way you'd mention a mosquito you swatted. They grabbed him outside the American consulate in Guadalajara, tortured him for 30 hours, broke his skull with a screwdriver, kept him alive with adrenaline injections so he could feel every second of it. The plaza boss tells you this story as a cautionary tale. Not for the DEA. For you. Loyalty, Miguel. That's all that matters in this business. Loyalty and silence. You nod. You take a bite of your tamale. Your hands don't shake because you trained them not to. But inside, your blood is running cold. Because the man telling you this story would do the exact same thing to you if he found out who you really are. By month 9, you have everything. Account numbers, routing paths, names of corrupt officials on both sides of the border, judges, police commanders, a city councilman in Texas. You have enough to bring down the entire financial network of the plaza. But Dave tells you to hold. Washington wants more. They want the supply chain. They want the Colombian connection. They want the whole enchilada, which is a phrase Dave actually uses, and you want to strangle him for it. So you keep going. You fly to Bogota on a private charter with 2 of the plaza boss's lieutenants. You sit in a penthouse overlooking the city with men who move more cocaine in a month than most countries seize in a year. The view is stunning. The people are terrifying. They speak softly and smile constantly, and you know for a fact that the man pouring your whiskey dissolved a rival's body in acid last March. They offer you a line of cocaine off a glass table. You decline. You tell them you don't mix business and pleasure. They laugh. They like you. Everyone likes Miguel. Miguel is charming and confident and smart and knows exactly which banks in Liechtenstein will take a wire transfer at 3 in the morning without asking questions. Miguel is also a fiction held together by stress, caffeine, and the constant fear that today is the day someone makes a phone call and finds out the real Miguel Reyes died in a car accident in Houston in 2015. And the man sitting across from them is a GS-13 federal agent with a recording device sewn into the lining of his jacket. Month 11. It happens. Not the way you expected. Nobody kicks down a door. Nobody pulls a gun. The plaza boss invites you to lunch. Over ceviche, he mentions casually that someone in the organization has been talking to the Americans. There's a mole. He looks you in the eye when he says it. Not accusing. Testing. Measuring your reaction the way a polygraph measures your pulse. You don't flinch. You say what a real money man would say. Then find him. Kill him. And move on. The plaza boss nods. He changes the subject. But you know the clock is ticking. That night, you break protocol for the first time. You call Dave from a payphone. Get me out. Dave says extraction is 72 hours minimum. You have 3 days to keep acting normal while the cartel hunts for a traitor that is literally you. The longest 3 days of your life. You attend meetings. You move money. You laugh at jokes. You eat dinner at the plaza boss's house again, and his daughter shows you a drawing she made in school. It's a house with a sun and a family standing in front of it. She drew you in it. Uncle Miguel standing next to her dad, holding hands with everyone. You tell her it's beautiful. You put the drawing in your pocket. That night, you sit on the edge of your bed and stare at the wall for 3 hours. 48 hours left. You pack nothing. Taking luggage would be a signal. You leave your clothes, your Rolex, the Mercedes. Miguel Reyes will simply vanish, and the cartel will spend weeks figuring out if you ran, got kidnapped by a rival crew, or got clipped by someone inside. Every scenario buys you time. At 2 in the morning, you walk out of your hotel room with your passport, your real one, hidden in a false bottom of your bag. A blacked-out SUV is waiting 3 blocks away. Dave is in the back seat. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't have to. He hands you a bottle of water, and you drive north for 6 hours through pitch-black desert until you cross the bridge at El Paso. The sun is coming up over the Franklin Mountains. You're back in America. You're alive. You step out of the SUV and sit on the curb outside a gas station and cry for the first time in 11 months. Dave stands next to you and says nothing. He just lights a cigarette and watches the sunrise with you. The indictments come 4 months later. 37 arrests across 3 countries. $68 million in assets seized. The plaza boss, the Colombian contacts, Julio, the bankers in Panama, the corrupt judges, the city councilman in Texas, all of them, every single one. The case is airtight because you spent 11 months building it brick by brick from the inside. You testify behind a screen in a federal courtroom in Houston. Your voice is digitally distorted. Nobody in that room will ever know your real name. The defense attorney tries to discredit your testimony. He calls you a professional liar. He's not wrong. You were a professional liar. The best one the DEA ever produced. The plaza boss gets life without parole. When the verdict comes in, he doesn't react. He just stares at the screen where your silhouette sits, and you know he's memorizing the shape of your shadow like a man memorizing a target. You're put in a soft version of witness protection. New city, new name. Government desk job analyzing financial data for the Treasury Department. You make $71,000 a year. You live alone in an apartment with a view of a parking lot. You check the locks 3 times before bed. You sleep with a pistol in the nightstand. You don't have a social media account. You don't go back to El Paso. Your mother knows you're alive, but doesn't know where you live. She still hasn't fully forgiven you for becoming a cop after all. Some nights you dream in Spanish. You dream about tamales at the plaza boss's dinner table and a little girl's drawing folded up in your pocket. You still have that drawing. You keep it in a shoebox in your closet next to your real badge, which you'll never wear again. That wraps it up for today. The story you just heard is a work of fiction, but every major element is based on real DEA operations and publicly documented cases. Agents like Kiki Camarena, Robert Mazur, and Michael Vigil lived versions of this nightmare for years. Some survived, some didn't. If this one made you think, drop a comment. Subscribe for more.